So today we're going to talk about famous fake doctors. And we're going to talk about this babyface doctor who became infamous in 2016, Dr. Love. Quickly became a meme around the world, basically because of his outrageous story. So his real name is Malachi Love-Robinson. And in 2016, he was going by the name of Dr. Love. And the world knew about him when he was arrested for his practice of medicine in West Palm Beach, Florida. So at the age of 18, he opened up the New Birth and Life Medical Center. But what was the problem? Well, the fact that he didn't have a medical degree. And essentially, he was just treating patients off of his good vibes.
Like, it's not the vibes. Stop!
So anyways, armed with good vibes and tenacity, he provided medical services, he treated several patients, and he saw and examined several patients. Actually, I'll read a little bit from his bio. Well-rounded professional that treats and cares for patients, using a system of practices that bases treatments off of physiological function and abnormal conditions on natural laws governing the human body. This is some chat GPT mumbo jumbo before there was even chat GPT.
I have the mind of a I have the mind of a mastermind. What's that? I don't know, but I'm so creative like that.
One of the things not listed, however, one of his unlisted services was identity theft. And yes, besides seeing patients and charging them an arm and a leg, actually he charged some 86-year-old woman $3,500 to treat her abdominal pain. Anyways, besides that, he did steal identities of some of his patients, and I think 2 of them were in their 80s. So how was he able to do all this? Well, he was able to get a medical backer, a financial backer. He convinced somebody that he was a real doctor. I believe he was able to treat Medicaid patients, and he advertised and had a large social media presence, opened up a website, which I read from his bio, and he was doing all this at the age of 18.
That's suspicious.
Now, I think that's part of what his suspicion was, being so young, being 18, which would mean that he had to be about 10 or 11 by the time he finished undergrad. Also, the fact that he was ripping off patients. Anyways, what happened was the authorities were alerted to his activities and a sting operation was done. An undercover patient was placed in his practice and he examined this patient, told him you're a doctor, and essentially he was arrested on the spot.
You're under arrest.
So after being arrested and after being arraigned, he actually did an interview with ABC where he stated such things as, there's many types of degrees where you don't need a little doctor in front of your name. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're a MD. And his story gets more outrageous. In fact, his lawyer defended him by saying he was a bright and young individual whose mind should be fostered for other things. He likened him to the entrepreneurial spirit of Donald Trump and Bill Gates, and just said that if he channels the energy for good, he could have done better, and that should be done to people like him. The only problem is this wasn't his only offense. There's some documentation that he did try this other places. There's documentation that he also tried to buy a Jaguar based off of stolen credit cards, and essentially they were alerted to this previous story about him being a fraudulent doctor, and he was again arrested for that, and that took place in Virginia. So for that, he was sentenced to 3.5 years, and that was because of his fraudulent activity in West Palm Beach, Florida. It's also documented more recently in 2020 that Dr. Love-Robinson did work at a company called United States of Freight. And there he committed another fraud where he essentially took customers' money. So basically he's working for this company and routed all the payments towards himself instead of going to the company, therefore ripping off the company. And he was again arrested and sentenced to 2 years in prison. So what is the conclusion? There's one thing I do find when doing a lot of research, there's a lot of fraudulent doctors. Why do people do it? And there's a lot of reasons. Sometimes it's admiration, sometimes it's financial gain, sometimes it's exerting control and power over people. And it was clear in this story that I think elements of all of this went into Love-Robinson. Now, the one thing is, it is very hard to become a doctor. And yes, doctors can make money, but there's no shortcut. Anyways, the most important thing to understand is highly illegal, and it's important to also research your doctors before, letting somebody examine you, making sure they're board certified. All those things come together in making good decisions and seeing a doctor. So with that, I'll see you at the next one.